vast darkness of space fractured as the massive human warship Inexorable tore through the fabric of reality, its hull glowing with the residual energy of faster-than-light travel. Around it, the 12 capital ships of the Valkyran Empire's third fleet hung suspended in perfect formation, their commanders frozen in disbelief at the impossibility before them. Impossible, Grand Admiral Lavina Draith whispered, her seven-fingered hand trembling as she rose from her command chair. No species has ever breached the cerulean barrier. The humans were quarantined behind it 3 centuries ago. The bridge of the Dominion Eternal fell silent as the crew stared at the main view screen. The human vessel dwarfed even their flagship, its obsidian hull adorned with crimson insignia that seemed to pulse with internal light. Most disturbing was its design. Unlike the elegant, flowing architecture of Valkoran's ships, the human vessel appeared to be all hard angles and weapon emplacements. Commander Orson, tactical officer of the Dominion Eternal, cleared his throat. "Grand Admiral, they're hailing us." Draith's silver eyes narrowed. "Put them through." The view screen shifted, revealing a human female with short auburn hair and eyes that reflected the cold void of space. No uniform insignia, no visible rank. Just a simple black jacket with a small patch bearing an unfamiliar symbol, a phoenix rising from planetary ashes. "I am Captain Merida Voss of the Earth Confederacy warship Inexorable," she stated without preamble. "Your empire imprisoned humanity behind the cerulean barrier 300 years ago, condemning us to a solar system depleted of resources. You expected us to die quietly." Draith felt her secondary heartbeat accelerate. "How did you breach—" "We're well past that discussion, Admiral," Voss interrupted. "While you've been expanding your empire through subjugation of lesser species, we've been surviving, evolving. The quarantine forced us to achieve technological advancements your scientists would consider theoretical at best." The human captain's expression remained unnervingly calm as she continued. "I represent only one of 17 similar vessels we've constructed. Each carries enough firepower to reduce a small moon to debris. We've studied your empire for decades through quantum entanglement observation platforms your sensors can't detect." Orson whispered urgently, "Admiral, their weapon systems are unlike anything in our database. Energy signatures are fluctuating in patterns our computers can't analyze." Voss seemed to hear this. "Your weapons can't penetrate our adaptive shielding. Your engines can't outrun us. Your communications can't reach your homeworld in time." She leaned forward. "We're not here for revenge, Admiral Draith. We're here to negotiate the terms of humanity's reintegration into galactic society, on our terms." The human's final words sent a chill through the bridge crew. "You have one standard rotation to contact your Imperial Council. We've waited 3 centuries. We can wait 1 more day. Choose wisely, Admiral. Humanity remembers who imprisoned us, and unlike your empire, we don't offer second chances." As the communication ended, Grand Admiral Draith sank back into her command chair, her mind racing. The Valkoran Empire had dominated the known galaxy for millennia, their technological supremacy unchallenged. Until now. "Orders, Admiral?" "Commander," Orson asked, his voice strained. Draith studied the human vessel through narrowed eyes. "Deploy reconnaissance drones, full-spectrum analysis, and get me a secure channel to the Imperial Council." "The quantum communicator is already prepared," her communications officer responded. Within moments, Emperor Nexus Varn's holographic form materialized on the bridge, his scaled features tightening with displeasure. "Explain this interruption." "Grand Admiral." "Your Eminence, the humans have breached the cerulean barrier." The Emperor's expression shifted from annoyance to disbelief. "Impossible. That containment field is powered by 3 stellar converters. Nevertheless, they are here. One warship of unprecedented capabilities." Draith transferred the sensor data, watching as the Emperor's scientists analyzed the readings. The tension in the Imperial court was palpable, even through the holographic projection. This vessel's power signature exceeds our largest battlecruiser by a factor of 7, the Imperial Science Director muttered. How did they achieve such advancement while contained? Before the Emperor could respond, Lieutenant Malor rushed onto the bridge. Admiral, 12 more human vessels have been detected at the edge of the system. The Emperor's hologram flickered as he received this information. This is unacceptable. Deploy the fleet. Show these escapees the full might of— With respect, Your Eminence, Draith interrupted, I believe direct confrontation would be unwise. The Emperor's 7-fingered hand curled into a fist. You suggest capitulation? I suggest caution. Our preliminary scans indicate their defensive capabilities may exceed our offensive measures. If their captain speaks truly about 17 such vessels, the Empire does not negotiate from a position of weakness, the Emperor hissed. Then, perhaps, a new voice said, you should reconsider your position. All heads turned to see Captain Voss standing on the bridge, seemingly materialized from nowhere. Guards immediately drew weapons, but the human merely smiled. Don't bother. I'm a projection, utilizing technology your scientists dismissed as theoretically impossible centuries ago. The Emperor's hologram stormed forward. How dare you invade an Imperial vessel? How dare you imprison an entire species? Voss countered coolly. But let's move past recriminations. I've come to offer clarity regarding our position. She gestured, and the bridge view screens changed to show the 12 newly arrived human vessels, each positioning themselves near crucial Valkyran military installations throughout the system. Each of these locations represents a strategic weakness in your Empire's defense network, weaknesses we've had decades to study. We could have struck without warning, but that's not our purpose. Dawn broke over the imperial capital of Valcor. Prime, its 3 suns casting triple shadows across the gleaming spires of the Imperial Palace. Within the Grand Council chamber, Emperor Nexus Varn sat rigidly upon the obsidian throne as Captain Merida Voss stood before him, this time in person, having agreed to transport via Imperial shuttle after rigorous security protocols. The chamber bristled with tension as 17 elite Imperial guards maintained a defensive perimeter around the human representative. Captain Voss appeared entirely unconcerned by their presence. Your demands are unprecedented, the Emperor stated coldly. 11 star systems, including 3 currently under Valkyran control, plus unrestricted passage through all Imperial trade. Routes! Voss remained impassive. These aren't demands, Emperor. They're the beginning of negotiations. The systems we've specified were originally inhabited by species sympathetic to humanity before your Empire's expansion. We seek alliance with them, not conquest. Grand Admiral Draith, standing at the Emperor's right hand, studied the human carefully. And what guarantees do we have that these technological advancements of yours won't be turned against us once you've secured your position? The same guarantees you offered us 3 centuries ago, Voss replied with a hint of bitterness. The difference is that humans honor their agreements. The Emperor's chief advisor, Magistrate Keldor, leaned forward. You claim to seek peace, yet you arrive with overwhelming military force. Such contradiction does not inspire trust. Would you have received us any other way? Voss countered. Your historical archives, which we've accessed, show 17 separate species that approached your empire peacefully, only to be subjugated or contained. A murmur rippled through the assembled council members. Few outside the highest echelons knew the full extent of the Empire's expansionist history. How? Did you access sealed Imperial records? The Emperor demanded. The same way we breached your supposedly impenetrable barrier, Voss replied. We evolved beyond your understanding of physics. Necessity is a powerful catalyst for innovation, Your Eminence. When faced with extinction in our resource-depleted solar system, we had 2 choices: transcend or perish. She stepped forward, causing the guards to tense. But I'm not here to lecture on human resilience. I'm here to establish that the galaxy has changed. Your empire is no longer the unchallenged power it once was. We seek recognition, reparations, and room to exist, not domination." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "And if we refuse these negotiations, then we disappear back into the darkness from which we emerged," Voss said softly. "But we'll take your barrier technology with us, leaving your borders exposed to whatever lies beyond. The cerulean barrier wasn't just containing us, Emperor Varn. It was protecting you as well." A chill swept through the chamber as the implications became clear. The barrier had been constructed not just to imprison humanity, but to shield the Empire from threats lurking in the uncharted regions of space, threats the humans had apparently survived and mastered. Rain pelted the windows of the Diplomatic Hall as Grand Admiral Draith studied the proposed treaty terms. 3 days of intense negotiations had yielded surprising progress. Across the polished table, Captain Voss sat with perfect posture, her expression revealing nothing. "These territorial concessions are substantial," Draith observed, gesturing to the star chart between them. "The Helix cluster contains some of our most productive mining colonies, which were established on worlds where the native Iridian population was displaced," Voss countered. "Our terms include protection and restoration for those indigenous civilizations." Before Draith could respond, the heavy doors swung open. Commander Orson entered, his face pale. "Admiral, urgent communication from the Dominion Eternal." The wall-mounted display activated, showing chaotic scenes from the flagship's bridge. Lieutenant Mallore's voice came through, distorted with static. "Admiral, we're detecting massive spatial distortions beyond the cerulean barrier breach point. Multiple unknown vessels emerging." The feed showed dark, organic-looking ships pouring through the gap where the humans had penetrated the barrier. Unlike the angular precision of human vessels, these ships seemed to writhe and pulse, their surfaces rippling like liquid metal. "The Voidborn," Voss whispered, her composure finally cracking. "They found the breach point." "Explain," Draith demanded, rising to her feet. "They're what we've been fighting for the past 2 centuries, Voss replied, her voice tight. "When your empire abandoned us behind the barrier, we discovered we weren't alone. The Voidborn exist in the spaces between realities, predators who feed on technological civilizations. They've been trying to breach the barrier since we first encountered them." Draith's blood ran cold. "You led them here." "No." Voss shook her head emphatically. "We've been containing them. Our advancements weren't just about survival or escape. They were necessities in a war your empire never knew was happening. We came here for alliance because we can no longer hold them back alone." The display showed the first of the Voidborn vessels engaging the Valkyran defense fleet. Imperial weapons seemed to pass harmlessly through the strange ships, while tentacle-like appendages lashed out, shredding through Valkyran shielding as if it were tissue paper. "Your fleet cannot stand against them," Voss stated, activating her communicator. "Inexorable. This is Captain Voss. Deploy the Umbra Protocol. All vessels engage Voidborn forces immediately." Draith watched in astonishment as the human warships moved with impossible speed, interpositioning themselves between the Voidborn and the Imperial fleet. Energy fields, unlike anything she'd seen before, erupted from the human vessels, creating visible distortions that seemed to repel the Voidborn attackers. "We've been developing countermeasures for centuries," Voss explained grimly. "This is the real reason we breached the barrier. Not conquest, not revenge. The Voidborn were close to breaking through, and when they did, your empire would have fallen without warning." Fleet Admiral Orson, promoted after Draith's elevation to Imperial War Counselor, stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned Concorde, the first joint human-Valkyran battleship. 6 months had passed since the Voidborn incursion, months of desperate battles and hurried technological integration between former enemies. "The neural interface still feels intrusive," Orson commented as human engineer Lavinia Reed adjusted the connections at his temple. You'll adapt, Reed assured him. Our pilots had the same reaction when we first developed the technology, but direct mind-machine interfacing gives us millisecond advantages in combat, and against the Voidborn, every millisecond counts. The view screens showed the massive defensive perimeter now established around the former Cerulean barrier breach. 50 warships, 32 Valkyren and 18 human, maintained constant vigilance, supported by a network of spatial distortion, sensors developed from human designs. "Admiral," his communications officer called, "Captain Voss is requesting permission to come aboard." Minutes later, Voss strode onto the bridge, now wearing an insignia that combined elements of both human and Valkyren military design, the symbol of the Joint Defense Command. "The Emperor has ratified the final treaty provisions," she announced without preamble. "Full citizenship rights for humans throughout Imperial space and mutual defense obligations." Orson nodded slowly. 3 centuries of isolation and hostility ended in 6 months of shared crisis. "The oldest story in human history," Voss replied. "Nothing unites like a common enemy." They turned their attention to the tactical display, where reports flowed in from the 17 frontier worlds, now jointly administered by humans and Valkyrens. The once subjugated indigenous populations were cautiously emerging from generations of oppression, finding in humanity unexpected advocates within the Imperial structure. "We've received the schematics for the phase shift generators," Orson said. "Our engineers are humbled by the innovations your people developed under such constraints." "Necessity," Voss reminded him. "Though I wonder what we might have achieved through cooperation rather than conflict." Their conversation was interrupted, as the ship's sensors detected unusual energy fluctuations near the defensive perimeter. "Another incursion?" Orson asked, tension evident in his voice. "No," Voss studied the readings. "It's different. This signature is structured, deliberate." The main view screen activated automatically, revealing not the writhing organic shapes of a void-born vessel, but a sleek craft of unfamiliar design. Its surface shimmered with iridescent patterns that seemed to shift between states of matter. "This is Ambassador Ilara of the Luminary Concordance," a melodic voice announced. "We have observed your successful defense against the entities you call Voidborn. We come seeking alliance." Orson and Voss exchanged startled glances. "The Luminary." "Concordance?" Orson whispered. "They're supposed to be a myth, a coalition of advanced species from beyond the charted regions." "Apparently not," Voss murmured before addressing the communication. "This is Captain Merida Voss of the Joint Defense. Command, we welcome contact with the Concordance." The alien ambassador's image resolved into a humanoid form composed of what appeared to be living light. "For millennia, we have contained the Voidborn from our side of reality. When we detected your species' unique approach to interdimensional physics, we realized an opportunity for mutual benefit had arisen." Grand Council Chamber of the Galactic Alliance, 1 year later. The vast circular hall bore architectural influences from 27 different species, flowing Valkyren arches alongside sturdy human columns, delicate iridian crystal work complementing the living architecture of the luminary representatives. Emperor Nexus Varn, now bearing the title of High Counselor rather than Absolute Monarch, signed the final document establishing the Galactic Alliance. Beside him, Captain, now Admiral, Merida Voss added her signature as humanity's representative. "If anyone had told me 2 years ago that I would willingly cede Imperial authority to a cooperative governing body," Varn commented wryly, "I would have had them executed for treason. And if anyone had told me I'd be standing as an equal beside the leader of the empire that imprisoned my species," Voss replied, "I'd have questioned their sanity." Around them, representatives from the Luminary Concordance, the liberated Iridian worlds, and a dozen other species previously subjugated by the Valkyren Empire participated in the historic ceremony. The massive view screen displayed the combined fleet now protecting the reinforced barrier between dimensions. Hundreds of ships representing technological integration between all member species. At its center hovered the Inexorable, refitted with capabilities contributed by luminary science, its weapons now capable of permanently sealing dimensional breaches. Ambassador Ilara approached, her luminous form casting prismatic patterns across the chamber floor. The Voidborn have withdrawn to the deeper void between realities. Our sensors detect no activity near the barrier for the first time in 50,000 years. They'll return, Voss noted grimly. Predators always do. Yes, Ilara agreed. But they will find not isolated civilizations, but a united front. This alliance represents the first time in galactic history that technological species have united before catastrophe forced them to do so. High Counselor Varn gestured toward the holographic display showing the new joint scientific installation being constructed where the cerulean barrier once stood. From prison wall to cooperative research facility, the symmetry is fitting. As the ceremony concluded, Admiral Voss stood at the observation deck, watching the stars. War Counselor Draith joined her in silent contemplation. "When your ship appeared that day," Draith finally said, "I was certain it meant the end of everything we had built." "It did," Voss replied simply, "but endings are often beginnings in disguise." The two leaders watched as a new class of vessel, sleeker than Valkyran designs but more ornate than human ships, departed the central docking hub. Its hull bore the insignia of the Galactic Alliance, a barrier between stars, held not by force but by the combined strength of diverse hands. "Humanity's greatest strength was never our technology," Voss observed. "It was our adaptability, our capacity to transform catastrophe into opportunity." She turned to face the Valkoran. "Your imprisonment forced us to evolve beyond what we might have become otherwise. And your return forced us to confront the flaws in our empire," Draith acknowledged. "Perhaps the greatest civilizations are not those that never fall, but those with the wisdom to rise, transformed from their failures." As the new vessel initiated its first faster-than-light jump, using a hybrid drive system that incorporated technology from all three major civilizations, the stars seemed to bend in acknowledgement of a fundamental truth. In the vastness of space, survival belongs not to the strongest alone, but to those who recognize that true strength lies in unity forged through diversity. The sudden arrival of a human warship had indeed left an empire in shock, not through destruction, but through transformation. And in that transformation, both humanity and their former captors had found something greater than conquest. They had found transcendence.